Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London, and you can find me all over the interwebs as Skeindeer Ravelry, Skeindeer Knits, and I make knitting patterns, mostly Scandinavian, Norwegian inspired. I am, after all, from Norway, so that's kind of my jam, but I do other sorts of knitting patterns as well, accessories, garments, what have you. And just below frame, as usual, is my co-host Embla, the black miniature schnauzer, who's here to keep us company, as I will be talking about all things I have been knitting since last time. I am still very much in a mood of finishing all the stuff from the severe case of costinitis I was suffering from in the years about 2017 to 2020. I was going through a lot, dealing with a lot, doing a PhD, what have you, and cast on recklessly, and I honestly don't regret it because I have learned so much from all the projects I started, whether I finished or not. It gave me the dopamine I needed at the time, and that's something too. And yeah, I am now faced with tidying up all of that. So if you are a returning viewer, you might enjoy seeing some oldies but goodies that maybe you didn't think I would touch ever again, but you were wrong. It only took me about 8 years for some of these, but you know. And if you're a new viewer, hello, and this is where I sit and talk about knitting for about, used to be once a week, now it's more like once a month. Maybe we're getting up to twice a month again. That would be lovely. Let's just dive straight into that. I've actually put my notes on my phone this time because I'm sat in my bedroom where the light is clearly at the best I've got in this apartment, so sound off. Anyway, so I have finished my worsted festive yoke. I guess that means I should probably start coordinating some kind of test knit for this, which maybe we should just take that time to talk about test knits for a little bit while I show you basically this looking more or less like the fingering weight version apart from the yarn weight. This is the fingering weight version using La Bien-Aimée yarn. It's sport weight to fingering weight. You can sort of use either. This is definitely worsted weight, give or take. It's not blocked yet, so if it looks a bit wibbly wobbly, that's why. I got to use some other charts for the cuff, which was very fun. I usually try to stick to the same sequence for all of my samples, but there are a bunch of other charts in this pattern that will come along with this as well. I'm gonna keep them otherwise fairly similar. But yeah, speaking of test knits, there's a lot of talks about test knits right now, I feel, and I'm almost feeling a bit scared of announcing test knits if I ever do host them again, because I used to find them very pleasant but overwhelming. Pleasant in the sense that I have most of the time had very nice test knits. There's never been any drama. Yes, some people flunk out, let me down, and never hear from them again, and there's no consequence to that for them, and I just don't ask them again in the future usually. I mean, some of them get more chances, but generally it is what it is. Yeah, there's a lot of feelings around test knits right now, and I feel a bit like it's not the cool kids club. If you get called into a test knit, you are essentially doing a favor for the designer. And we are the ones who should be thanking you, not the other way around. It's not some kind of elite party. It's just not. You're just helping out to make sure that things are, you know, possible to do for someone who have bought the pattern, and you kind of just tell the designer your experience if you had anything to note in exchange for getting it for free early. That's kind of just the deal. I think different people do it differently and they have different reasons why they would use test knitters, and I am at the point in my designing days where I honestly, for the pattern development side of things, don't need test knitters. I pay tech editors for anything to do with clarity of instructions, accuracy in the maths, and just anything that I didn't spot because I've looked at the pattern for so long. But a test knit is just really nice so that when someone is looking to buy my pattern and there's like 0 projects on Ravelry, that there aren't 0 projects on Ravelry. That's like the main reason I like to have test knitters is, look, someone already made this before you. That's it. I don't expect anyone to do free promotion for me. That is nice if they do, but I just generally pick test knitters based on, hey, they tend to upload photos and projects to Ravelry and Instagram, which is where people are going to be looking. They're going to be looking at the hashtag. They're going to be looking on projects on the design page, the page for that particular pattern. So I more or less have test knitters in for the benefit of the knitter. It's less impactful on the actual outcome of the pattern, considering where I'm at now. When I was starting out, test knitters had a huge impact on the pattern because I was still learning so many things, and I am still learning. We all are, but it's in a different kind of, the need is more about honestly, there's like a weird attitude going around in knitting that's been going for as long as I remember, which is kind of like, this pattern hasn't been tested, I'm not buying that. And people, I think, confusing test knitting with tech editing. And no shade to people who are still working up their business and can't afford outsourcing tech editing yet and therefore rely on test knitting while getting on their feet. I can understand that's... Yeah, no, I've gone through a lot of changes where I look at things, and I'm just rambling off the cuff right now, but I just kind of thought I'd put that out there before I put out a call. If and when I do that, I might just message a few of my usual suspects and see if they want to cast on, so that I can show a bit more variety, because I just think that's nice. If I have more, you know, different colors, different uses of yarn on different bodies, like that's just nice to have for people to see. And I think that's the most beneficial thing of test knitting for me personally. And if they have something to note about the pattern, grand. But I'm not gonna like chastise anyone if they're just like, cool, thanks. And that's that, you know. That was a rant I wasn't prepared to go into, but clearly that's something I had to get off my chest. So there's not really much else to say about this that you don't already know about this, but in case you didn't know, I've released this one in 2021. It's probably my most popular garment pattern. The festive yoke comes in a cardigan and a pullover and a child's pullover. Now it will come in an adult worsted weight pullover. I hadn't really thought about doing a pullover, sorry, a cardigan for the worsted weight, because it does seem like most people want pullovers over cardigans, although personally I prefer cardigans. But I have also made this one 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So I'm okay with not having to make an 8th sample, but you know, this is a pattern you can have a lot of fun with and make a lot of times with a lot of different charts. I feel like I've bound myself a little bit too doing the same chart sequence, because that's kind of, you know, the sample. But maybe I could have a bit of fun if I did a cardigan version. But yeah, I used Fivel by Roma, but you could use Hillesvåg. Why am I saying this now? Yeah, Luna by David, those. If and when this comes out, it will come out. It will come out for Christmas. I will try and aim to have it published a couple of months beforehand, so anyone who wants to have it ready for Christmas obviously can. Especially consider its worsted weight. It was a very quick knit. I cast this on early December, maybe mid-December. And had I knitted consistently, probably would have finished by Christmas, but obviously here we are. 'Tis March, it's Easter soon. And yeah, I have now got this off my needles, and it is not the only thing. But in the tradition of last episode, I want to talk about the things I have frogged as well, which is the Carolina Halvårsen mittens. It's a shame, because I really wanted to make it, both because that was already my plans when I got this yarn, thanks to my sister who went into a to be shut down yarn shop in my hometown to get it for me, but also she had herself independently found these mittens and said, I want these, and so I thought win-win. But I haven't made anything past the cuff in the past 8 years, so we gotta just have a little bit of a reality check of those and just decide they're not to be. For now, I'll just leave the whole skein and the little cuff with the rest of the yellow half sweater quantity that I have laying about. And if I change my mind, I'll change my mind. I doubt I will. So yeah, it's gonna hit the frog pond. I made the cuffs 2 at a time first, following the pattern, thinking they were just too loose because it's just like straight up, no shaping or needle size change. So I thought if I do the cuffs on smaller needles and then change as I go up, they will sit a bit more on the cuff, and they will. It's just that having to do the cuffs a second time, I just lost steam on these mittens that I did really want to make, but didn't in the end. So that's clearing out 2 projects from my whips. I'm gonna do a little like total at the end of this episode and like go through the numbers a little bit and see where we're at numerically in a sort of just superficial way, because I am quite pleased with all the work that I'm doing here, and my arm may be screaming at me, but you know. So you might remember I was working on the Nurtured sweater pullover. This is a design by Andrea Mowry. Came out probably around the time that I cast it on 8 years ago, if not a year or 2 before. It do take me a while to cast on sometimes, but not back then. And yeah, it's done. It is done, and I wore it actually yesterday, just out and about. The sleeves are very long. Shall we talk about that? Let me just put the jumper on first. So I used Magpie's Solstice yarn. This is a yarn that they had, I think was already discontinued back when I bought it in early 2020. It's also when I cast on this project. Oh dear. And yeah, it's a cotton wool blend and it fits really well. So as you might remember, did I even talk about, in case I didn't talk about it, I struggled with not being remotely close to row gauge, having not done a swatch that was blocked, and did the body longer, did the yoke longer, did the sleeves longer. And right now, if I'm like wearing them comfortably, and I can see I'm not the only one. I'm looking on the project pages and a lot of people ended up getting quite long as these have been blocked, which isn't surprising because it's a kind of slip stitch pattern with sort of alternating knits and purls that you could argue is a form of garter. So that was going to grow, wasn't it? And I just thought, I don't know, this could have been foreseen. It could have been foreseen with a blocked swatch, but it could have also been foreseen had I just blocked. When I say blocked, I literally just mean soaked and dried the sleeves before joining them with the yoke, so I would have had a better idea of the length. Why didn't I do that? Because they were still on the needles, and that would have just made it maybe a little bit pulled together there and not been blocked as well as maybe things further down, and I just thought, nah. Joined it all together, finished all 15 seasons of ER, started all over again. And I am very pleased with the results. I'm very pleased. Yes, the sleeves are ridiculously long, but I kind of like this fit. It's been, March is the month of deceit here in London, and it's been just suddenly very cold after we had a week of 18 degrees and sun, and I've been fixing up my garden furniture. It's been nice to be able to do this. Am I coping? Is this a cope? Am I just like dealing with the fact that I made these like probably 4 inches, 10 centimeters longer than they should have been? No, who said that? Who said that? Did you hear that? Let's get up and have a little look-see. I like the length. It is a little bit longer than it calls for. It's quite a crop, so it probably would have been more like this, and obviously it's grown a bit. And the yoke, I had to add length. I added a lot of length, and it does look a bit wonky where the length sort of goes from. Oh, can I see this? Like it's sort of, there's almost like a little boob right here from where it went straight up to where I started shaping, which is not what the pattern asks you to do, right? The pattern wants you to shape right away. And I just looked at that, and if I had gotten row gauge, it would have been 17 centimeters long. Me not getting row gauge would have been very, very short from underarm to here. That being said, probably added a bit more length than necessary, but I think that's very comfortable. But it does get this like weird kind of underarm boob. And yeah, the sleeves are so long, but honestly I can also do this. Nothing wrong with rolled up sleeves for when you want to function like a normal person who knows how to knit sleeve lengths. So yeah, you can obviously wear them like this. It's very comfortable. The sleeves are not as snug as I was afraid they were going to be, and I think that was probably also why I added some extra length there, because that's the length that's not any shaping, right? So it would have more upper sleeve circumference from upper arm circumference. The dog is here. I'm not gonna sit on here. But yeah, very happy with the fit. Very happy overall. And I want to talk a little bit about the neckline shaping, because I thought I did a genius little thing. Knowing I didn't have row gauge, I was like, well, it doesn't look like the neckline has a lot of shaping in and of itself. It's just a couple of short rows. That's not enough for me on a regular day, let alone know when I don't have row gauge. You're barely going to be able to tell the difference between the front and the back. And I don't want it to ride up in the front and down at the back. Hate that. Don't love that for me. And while the pattern obviously with its existing shaping makes sure that doesn't happen, I felt I had to compensate a bit because again, both my preferences and row gauge, you get where I'm going. So what I did after thinking, charting, tearing this pattern down in Excel and building it back up again, was actually just do as I'm told, but a bit earlier. So doing the short rows back and forth, 10 rows earlier, and then when I've done that, work the pattern flat, no shaping. So that goes straight up. So you have a bit of shaping on the side here, and then go straight up. And then as you're ready to join back in the round, as you would have done if you were doing short rows, picking up stitches along here, join to the front, picking up stitches here, you join the round and you can start doing your rib neckline, and it worked. It worked really well. I am very happy with that. Nothing wrong with learning something new on the job, yeah? So it's just well. This is really well. Excuse you? You're not leaving. You think you're leaving? I don't think so. We're normal in this household. We are normal. Anything else? So forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but I don't think I got to this last time either. Last time, I believe, if I remember, I struggled a little bit with the 2 sleeves. Because the older one looked a lot longer than the newer one that I was working on. So, to recap, I had made a sleeve in late January 2020, not touched this project since. Decided to do the second sleeve and the body. And as I had done the second sleeve, they were worlds apart. They were so different in length. I thought, I probably need to frog the old sleeve, and I could have done that instead of doing this whole jumper. And so I decided, just don't worry about it, finish the second sleeve, weigh it, weigh the other one, weigh the leftover yarn. They weigh the exact same. The leftovers weigh the same and the sleeves weigh the same to the 1 gram give or take, but they were so close in weight that I was like, oh, so it must have been like kind of blocked in a weird shape when it's been packed in a plastic bag. So presumably I can block them to be the same. Sweet! And as I was ready to join the sleeves in on the body, 1 stitch was mysteriously missing from the older sleeve. Now this is quite a loose gauge, so 1 sleeve is actually going to make a difference, and just making one later when I don't even know, I can't even tell where on the sleeve increase I didn't make that increase. Because it's so hard to tell in this pattern. That is why you had seen me make a long row of stitch markers to be able to locate them. And I just couldn't find this missing increase. So I frogged the old sleeve, the one that's been laying around here since 2020, and was the whole reason I picked up this project again. Oh, so yeah, everything has been re-knitted as of February and March 2026. There's nothing here that was knitted in 2020, not even the cuff. I did not weigh the sleeves again after that because I did not want to know if they were actually more different after I'd done that. This is very frustrating. It's also weird how they could be so similar in weight when there was a stitch missing, and it could have been missing maybe even throughout, which would have been quite a substantial amount. But we're not thinking about that now. This is old news, but you gotta laugh. And at the end of the day, I made both sleeves a bit longer. We can think about our choices now. But like I say, this is the say as I do and not do as I do podcast. What? Do as I say, not do as I do podcast. There we go. What counts in the end, that I'm happy with the project. I like the pattern. Again, nurtured by Andrea Mowry, named after the Nurtured yarn by Julie Asselin. And I didn't use that yarn, but you know, this is a very nice, lightweight wool cotton blend, like I said. So it's a nice wear during this time of year when it's kind of hot and cold all over, and you want kind of something that's not going to make you boil in the sun, but also not going to freeze when it goes away, which it does reliably, unreliably so. So yes, let's move on to the next frog project, because there is another one. Tis the Norrland pattern. I love this pattern. It's a combination of a pair of mittens and hat that I was eager to knit for ever since I saw this pattern many years ago, probably more than a decade. I haven't seen much in knitting that is that stunning. It's really top tier. Beautiful combination of color work and cables. I want it in my life, but I haven't finished it. And again, in, was it 8 years? 8 years. I haven't been able to finish a hat. That, maybe I'll cast it on again in the future, maybe in some yarns that I feel like my hands are a little bit more comfortable with, because I love the yarn as well, but it just felt like I was maybe forcing, it didn't have that much bounce, and my hands, and I seem to remember that was the reason. And I asked someone in my knitting group if she wouldn't mind continuing it for me and just keeping it, doing whatever she wants with it, and she did. So it's going to her, and I don't have to worry that it was wasted work or anything like that. So that's another one cleared off in my world. And that means we can move on to another finished object. And you will not believe which, I barely believe which one I finished next. Just admit it. You never thought I would finish this. I didn't think I'd finish this. So let me recap. I have realized after knitting quite a few that while I enjoy knitting them immensely, I don't wear superwash shawls, like the kind of like superwash single play merino, hand-dyed, beautiful, stunning skeins put into these like intricate, creative, lots of different methods type shawls. I just don't wear them, with one exception, because it has quite a bit of structure, because all of the pieces and picked up stitches that goes into it. Vertices Unite by Stephen West. I do wear that one. But as I realized, I like my woolly shawls, I like my woolly scarves. The last 3 that I haven't finished have just been sitting on the needles for, again, an average of 8 years. And it's exploration station, and Starflake shawl, both by Stephen West, and the Oracle shawl by my friend Kristin Lehrer of the Wool and Vine Yarn and podcast. And I finished it! I have finished it! I don't know what happened, but with all the knitting I've been doing, I was just like, ooh, I kind of want to work on something like that right now, because again, I always enjoy working on these sort of shawls. So another hang up is that I had knitted this I'll show you in a bit, but it alternates sections of 2-color brioche and lace. And I decided to do the version of this shawl that is worked flat. There are 2 versions, one half circle flat and one full circle in the round. Doing the one flat, you basically have to purl every other round for the lace. And I have, for the longest time in my knitting, the majority of the time as a knitter, hated purling with a passion. And I've seemed to have kind of gotten over that the last maybe couple of years. 4 years, 5 years. I don't realize when this exactly happened, but I'm not shying away from purling endlessly now. So I was like, you know what? I can do this. I'm gonna do this lace section. Starts off with a tiny, let's get closer. Starts off with a tiny lace section, gets you into a tiny brioche section, goes into a bigger lace section, and then the biggest brioche section, and that's where I stopped. Section. Because now comes the biggest lace section, and I was like, I can't do all this purling, but I could, and I did. And I got to do some more brioche and some more lace, and it is done, and it is stunning. And I will say, once it was off my needles, after having done some extensive I-cord bind off, there's so many stitches to this thing, I just thought, this isn't wearable, but I'll block it. And I know that blocking makes everything work out. It is most definitely wearable. It is so pretty. It just grew, like, I think it doubled in length after blocking, honestly. So you may notice something strange about the shape, because I couldn't decide between the full circle and the half circle. So I did both. I did what I call a gibbous. Words are not my strength. Oracle. So it means it's a 3/4 circle. I'm holding it folded double right now, just to give you a sense. Right, so I wonder if I messed up the increases some of the way, because it feels like I have more, but it should be 1/3 pie slice kind of missing here, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's why I had so many stitches when finally getting to the I-cord bind off. Because there was a lot of increases happening right after the final brioche section, just to do a little bit of lace here, and it just went on and on and on. I think I spent 2 days with the bind off. I don't remember. All the time blended together. Kristen, how could you do this? I did this to myself. I could have done the regular half circle. This is on me. But yeah, I kind of foolishly thought that was going to improve the wingspan, but why would it do that? That doesn't make any sense. It does nothing to the wingspan. It's relatively short around the neck. However, let's pretend that I'm sitting like backwards right now. This is my back that you're seeing. You can hang over the shoulders like this. This is easier than me turning around, so just like believe that that's what I'm doing. It's just really nice over the shoulders. Stunning. With a nice summer dress. Ooh. But yeah, I still haven't really like solved the problem, quote unquote, that I don't wear these shawls. I'm gonna see keeping this one around if I do. It is so beautiful that I can't think of anyone who would be mad at getting this as a present one day. So maybe for my mom or something for Christmas, who knows. Shall we do a little close up? I've talked you through the sections. Let's have a little nosy. I just can't believe I finished it. I can't believe it. Now I want to do the other two, and it's blowing out. Well, that's something. Absolutely stunning. And those of you who have watched this podcast for a very long time will know that I can't deal with brioche. I came to brioche as a stranded colourwork knitter. I've always been since early 20s, and then starting doing 2-color brioche, where you got to work one yarn, slide the other stitches, and then work the other colour, sliding the opposite stitch. I was just like, no. That makes no sense. It's got to be possible to do both at the same time. And it is. It's called One Pass Brioche. There's a couple of videos online of how to do it. I think it's called Some Momentum, but not the amount that I think it deserves. I think more people need to try out this method. I've used it on my exploration station, on my Starflake shawl, on my Oracle shawl. And it's just it makes it twice as fast to do, and it's just really easy. I do the continental method where I have both colors over my index finger. Whether I think I can just explain this verbally here, you gotta check out the videos. But yeah, you can just do all this as like one swift hand movement basically. You knit one and then you purl one and just bring the 2 yarns over, so one sits over the last stitch and one over the next stitch, and you just carry on doing that. So they will both be knitted or purled and have that shawl stitch over just in one round or row. And it is possible to increase and decrease in as well. I'm not 100% sure about those. I have done it, not in this one, but in Exploration Station and stuff like. But yeah, I am so pleased. I'm so pleased. Can't believe I finished. And there's quite a bit of yarn left, so maybe I'll do another one of those scrap baskets, though I technically haven't finished the last one, so I might be able to get a few more rounds. That's my little leftovers. I just can't believe it. Nobody's more shocked than I am that I've actually finished some of the project that I just kind of declared many years ago that I probably wouldn't, but didn't know what to do with them, because it's not yarn that I wanted to repurpose for anything else. It seemed a shame to frog projects I had made so much headway with for not having any plans for the yarn otherwise. And I enjoy working on these patterns, and I keep saying that. So now that I kind of have that back in my body again, I don't see it as unlikely that I will be looking at the very least, Starflake. I think for Exploration Station, I might need to consider substituting the slip stitch pattern for maybe an eyelet pattern, because I just can't stand slip stitch patterns. Too much slipping, not enough knitting. That's what I say to that. So we are swiftly moving into works in progress. Maybe I should have mentioned another frog project. There might be more frogs in the future, but for now, in my gorgeous blue rabbit mouse bag, adorable polar bear that I don't get to use enough because it's been housing this sweater since I took part in the Rocane knit along in, was it 2018 as well? 2019? Around that time. And I was gonna be the first to finish, and I had some pretty good speed in the beginning. I had knitted the body from the provisional cast on up, I had knitted the fronts, and I just had maybe half the back to do flat before joining, seaming the shoulders together and doing the sleeves, and didn't do that until recently. I have done it, so now we have not only have the back been made, and I have 2 needle bound off the shoulders together, which looked really nice. I don't think that's what the pattern said. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but I just do that by default. And I've done the neckline, and I didn't do the I-cord neckline as recommended. I did a 2x2 neckline. Which, why? The rib for this pattern is 1x1 rib, so why I didn't do 1x1 is beyond me, but I did a 2x2 neckline. I will give you a close-up so you can actually see, because this yarn is very, very dark, hand-dye navy blue, blue-faced Leicester yarn. And I have done the sleeves not at all according to pattern. I didn't like the shaping. I think the shaping is giving a lot of consideration for the charts adding up around the sleeve, but I just think fit is just always way more important than seeing if it adds up in under here where you're not going to be looking. So I would rather than decreasing a lot from here down here and then knitting straight, I would rather knit a bit straight and then decrease. I think that gives a better shape. That's just a preference thing that I have. The other thing is I thought the sleeves looked nicer. I guess I expected they would look nicer with just stockinette. I don't think we need to repeat the texture on the sleeves, and maybe that's just me saying that because I didn't actually enjoy doing the texture, because I'm working in very dark navy blue yarn and working that from the back, not seeing what I'm doing and having to like have a fairly good idea of, am I supposed to knit or purl these? I don't know. That was so difficult, and I've definitely made a couple of mistakes. And there's like kind of zigzag that you get on the sides, the front and the back. And I think that was the reason this ended up languishing for so long. Is yeah, that was just super difficult to do from the back in this really dark yarn. If I had done this on my usual way of sticking in the round, I would have just been seeing it from the front. Would have been easier to compare to the chart. And like I could have made this easier for myself, maybe printing out my own chart and highlighting the wrong sides and like getting an idea of when I'm looking from left to right and right to left. Like this isn't difficult. I just made it harder for myself, and in turn this didn't get finished for a very long time. But now, however, she's got 2 sleeves. She's got the neckline. She just needs the bottom hem, which I'm supposed to, according to the pattern, pick up the front stitches and do one length, and then the back stitches and do a longer length. And I might do that. I might do them the same length. I might not even split them. I'm kind of deciding. I don't understand understand why I was doing this provisionally. I first thought that was just something I did because it sounds like something I do if I'm unsure about how much yarn I have. But it was actually the pattern instructions. I just think it would have made more sense to do 2 pieces of ribbon, join them. But I think that's just, again, me, because I prefer my cast on to my bind off. But if you do it the way the pattern says, you actually get a consistent finish. They will all have bind offs, and they would be consistent if I done 1 by 1 rib here. But yeah, like I said, the pattern says you should do a I-cord neckline. I just feel like I've done enough I-cord for a while with the Oracle shawl and the sleeve island and Clint shawl. The list goes on. That's enough I-cord for a minute for me, actually. Thank you very much. But let's get nurtured off, and I will try on the Rocane, because I have been a million different sizes during the years that this has been a whip in my bag. And now it fits so, it just fits so well. Okay, just got a bunch of makeup on the inside here. Lovely. Okay, so now you can finally see what it looks like. I actually just now, before recording, undid 1 round of the neckline and bound off a lot looser, and I can already tell I am very happy I did. It just sits a lot nicer. But I might redo the neckline. It looks good. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think it could be better, because I think I didn't pick up enough stitches between here and here. So trying to stick to the stitch count of the pattern, but I suspect I have knitted it longer here, and so I would probably need to pick up more stitches here as well, I think. Didn't think about that. So it's just kind of pulling the neckline together when there's actually quite a bit of length to go by here, which I think is just more comfortable. But we'll see how I feel about this. Maybe I'll give it a block first and just get a sense of it. The sleeves are long again. This is the 3rd time now. We're also counting what happened with the whole sleeve island situation. I mean, that's why I haven't woven in these ends yet, because there's a lot of ends with this sweater, considering I'm alternating hand-dyed yarn. And there's a lot of, you know, picking up sleeves, doing the 2 fronts and the back separately, provisional cast on. There's a lot of ends around, and doing 2 skeins at the same time all the time. I've been weaving in ends, so do not at me about weaving in ends this time. I've actually had to also dig out my ends, and even though I'm not known to weave in ends, when I do, I weave them in properly. They are woven in there, so I had a hard time actually digging it back up and frogging 1 round. But yeah, it looks way better and was more comfortable getting over my massive head as well. That means it's now sitting right down here to my... This is one of my looser skirts that I wear at home because it's oversized. But yeah, it kind of reaches down here now, so it's actually a really cute length for this. I love this like Gansey style of this pattern. It was a pain to do, but now that I have, it is stunning. I think this was designed by Christina Danai, and this was in Pom Pom's autumn issue in 2016, quite a while ago. And yeah, it's got a really, really great fit. I love this, the exact way that this is sitting on me. It's so comfortable and loose, but not too big. I just need to figure out how long I want the rib and whether I want it to be split or not, and doing a high-low split. Ta-da, 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 my dog. She's here. She's just a bit shy. Rocane. Bet you guys didn't think you'd see that again. Oh, I'm having a lot of fun. It's actually really satisfying to pick up projects that are like halfway done after it's been so many years that I've completely forgotten about them, because now I'm getting the same kind of like, let's just call it dopamine hit from picking it up again, the way that you get from casting on a new project. Only half the work is already done. So when I get that like, oh, the grass is green on the other side kind of feeling of wanting to cast on something new, well, I'm getting actually pretty close to the finish. I'm not like, oh, I'm only halfway through. I'm actually nearly done. I just need to do the rib for the hem, and reckon I'll be working on that tonight, and then I can bring that with me to my knitting group. So yeah, I've been having this like pile of project bags on my bedside drawers. Hey. Of everything that I have frogged or finished. Some of these have been designs that I've frogged that just wasn't meant to be, so there will be some more project bags that maybe you think is reasonable. But yeah, all of these freed up beautiful bags, and more to come. Things I can use in other things. I should sell like more than half my project bags, honestly. It is so hilarious to me that when I started this podcast, I was talking about how I didn't really care for project bags and I'm happy using tote bags. And here we are. I have an obscene amount of project bags. I don't know how that happened. Actually, I do. I bought too much yarn and decided when I went to yarn shows, I'm not going to buy more yarn. So I bought project bags. is what I did. But yes, I think the next thing that I'll be working on once Rocane is done, I may be jinxing it now, but I think I will finally work on Bromster Net. I recently gave it a block. I think I talked about that 2 episodes ago. It has dried since. It looks really good. It just needs sleeves and the bottom rib. That's nothing. That is nothing. So this is from Kofteboken, designed by Lene Holmes Samse. Oh, baby. And yeah, I think that will be the next thing. I might not be able to wear it anytime soon because despite what the weather's been like the past couple of days, it is warming up. While doggy here is stealing the show. Let's do the maths. Let's do the project bags, because I am looking at my whips again and there are 4 possible projects I might give the frog. We'll see. I'll talk about it if and when I do that. Stop saying do, Ellie. If I do that and finish the ones I've talked about so far, I will have finished or frogged 17 projects. 17 projects cleared out of my Ravelry. Okay, that's where you can find my projects. Anyone asking, I don't hide this from you. It's all there. You can all find it. You can find the patterns there. You know how to use the internet. Currently, with the current stuff I have finished or frogged, we are up to 11 cleared from my Ravelry. That is more than a row when I have it in my full screen on my monitor. What am I doing? My arm thing? I don't know. So it's already 11 gone, but it could be 17. And that means I will have, if and when I do get rid of 17 projects, there will be 13 projects left on there. Only 13. I had over 50, guys. Remember, I had over 50. 13 left. But currently, as it currently stands, I have 19 projects on there. And there are, I will admit, just for transparency, there are a couple of projects laying around here that I should have added, but I haven't. Designs and projects in progress. Designs in progress. If we can get it down to just 13, that'd be great. That would be wonderful. But yeah, next thing I'm going to be working on is Bromster Net, I think. And this using Vilja by Hillesvåg, one of my absolute favorite yarns. Gorgeous, gorgeous lamb's wool that since I started this actually comes in multiple colors now. Okay, this may fail, but let's try. Embla, bag. Okay, she's already going in. Don't know if that counts. We've just got her a carrier bag. And I know, what has this got to do with knitting? Well, hardly anything. But I got this on Vinted from someone, I don't know, but I got inspired to get it from someone I met in a dog walk for schnauzers, and it's covered in Harry's tweed. And when I tell this to dog people, they just look at me like, what? And when I tell knitters, they're like, oh, Harry's tweed, you say? So yes, it's now currently Embla's safe space when we are a bit out and about. This is like, we are done talking about knitting now, but it's sort of related to being craft related, I guess, with the Harris tweed. That's my segue. I'll stick to it. But yeah, I guess it's more of a pet ownership sort of situation. I think it is a bit silly to like have her be a bag dog when she needs to walk around as much as possible. She needs her exercise. She needs to get all the buzz out of her system. But when we are going through like public transit in central London and there's all these escalators, especially on the major train stations that connect to here, I usually just have to carry her and hold her like this, and while that works and is cute as hell, she will tear into my scarf, pull my hair, try to get as high up as possible because escalators are a bit scary and it's just not that convenient. And then also when walking through rush hour, I mean, I'm terrified people step on her, so again, I'll hold her. I just thought a carry a bag for those sort of situations is actually going to do us pretty well, and we've tried it out. We went to Clapham Junction the other day, and that's quite a busy station, and it worked wonders. She took really well to it. I'm very proud of her. The other reason I got it is because I liked her to have a sort of a safe spot when we go to cafes and stuff. She has a bit of a hard time settling, and I'd love her to just have a spot that's her, where she can get a little chew or something instead of being under the table by people's feet. We can just kind of give her a spot that's hers. And so over the weekend I've been having this next to me on the sofa, and I worked on the command bag, and so she will jump in it when I say bag, and I'll tell her she's a very good girl and give her a treat. Yes, you are. You're the best. I love you. I swear to God, my upstairs neighbor is like shouting out the window right above where the tripod is right now, so if that's not a sign from above that we should be wrapping up this episode, I don't know what is. Yeah, I just thought I'd show you guys my latest little purchase. Actually, I tell a lie. I've also bought some more Cumbria yarn. As I've told you last time, Fibre Company are shutting down the shop, and so I needed to get my mitts on some Cumbria yarn, so I got some of their Cat Bells colorway last time, and this time I think the color I got was Derwent Water, which I have been to. Very, very dark navy blue. Have I learned nothing? Clearly not. that I think if I don't make that Kate Davies cardigan in the Cat Bells colour, the lovely yellow ochre, I might do the navy, or I might use that for something else. But I got 7 chunky skeins out of that. Is it worsted weight yarn? But I don't remember where I put it, and it's all very messy here right now. It's just gonna have to believe me. But thank you all so much for watching, and I hope I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe to here and the newsletter and stuff, because the algorithms are trying to eat us all whole, so you know. So that's a cheerful note to end it, I guess. See you later. Bye bye.